Hello guys, in this video I'll talk about very interesting set of problems from array data structure which we'll try to solve using two pointers based approach, and later on I'll explain why we are using this approach and how it is helping in optimizing the solution. So let's jump right into the problem. The problem here is remove duplicates from sorted array. I have added the link to this problem in description of the video which you can go and check out later. I'll try to explain the problem in more simpler words. Given a sorted array, and we have to remove the duplicates in place such that each element appears only once and finally return the new length. We do not have to allocate the extra space for another array. We must have to do this in constant memory. So the problem is we are given a sorted array and we have to remove the duplicates in place such that each element appears only once and finally return the new length. We have to do this operation in constant memory. So the problem is pretty straightforward. Your method should return the length of the array with unique elements, but the original array needs to be modified also. Let's look at the example. Suppose the input array is 1, 1, 2. After modifying this array, the array would look like 1, 2. So the length would be 2. Let's look at another example. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4 and 4. So after modifying this array, the array would look like 1, 2, 3, 4. The length is 4. So to solve this, we'll be using two pointer based approach. One pointer to track the result, another to iterate over the array. Let's take I as one of my pointer, which is tracking the result, and j is iterating over the array. And whenever they have unequal values, if a of I not equal to a of j, then I'll increment I and copy the value of j to I. Otherwise, I'll keep on incrementing j. Now let's look at a dry run for one of the input. Let's take the input as 1, 2, 2 and 3. Indexing is 0, 1, 2, 3. Currently I is at 0 and j is at 1. They are unequal. We'll increment I and copy the value from j to I. It will remain same. And at the end we'll increment j. Now we'll see they are equal. We'll just increment j. Now they are unequal. We'll increment I and copy the value from j to position I. So the input array would look like 1, 2, 3, 3 and I is at 2. So the final length of the output will be I plus 1, which is 2 plus 1, 3. Now at this moment, pause the video and try to code it on LeetCode and get it submitted. Now let's code it. We'll take two pointers, int I equal to 0, which is for tracking the result, and j equal to 1 for iterating over this entire array. Now while j is less than nums dot length, if the values at I and j are unequal, values are I not equal to nums of j, then we'll increment the I, basically where we have to store the new value, and nums of I equal to nums of j, and in general we'll increment just the j pointer. At the end we need to return the new length. New length would be I being the index, so I plus 1 will be my final length. So let's try to run it. Yeah, it works for this. Let's submit. Cool, it's got submitted. So as you can see, you have already solved one of the LeetCode problem. Now let's look at another problem which is pretty much similar to this problem. So the problem is remove duplicates from sorted array 2. It's a LeetCode medium problem. The only difference here is with respect to the previous problem is we are allowed to have at max 2 duplicates. So we'll copy the previous code and we'll try to extend it to handle duplicate, at least one duplicate. So else, so now that in this condition we are aware that the values at I and j are equal, so we should copy the value if the index is 0, nothing to worry about. So it will be I plus plus. Else if, now that I and j values are equal and the subsequent values in the result, if they are not equal, then we should copy the value. So nums at I minus 1 or immediate values, then we'll increment it, and then nums of I equal to nums of j, and everything else will remain same. Let's try to run it. Yeah, it works for the test case. Let me submit it. Yes, it's working as expected. So you have seen that with just few lines of code change, we are able to solve LeetCode medium problem using the solution from the easy one. So irrespective of problem level, easy, medium or hard, you mainly have to understand the problem statement and apply the right approach, which for all of these scenarios is 2 pointers. Now let's look at another problem which is pretty much similar to the first one, and it is remove element. So unlike previous problem where we had to remove the duplicate, here we have to remove the specific value. So we'll copy the code from the first one, paste it, and instead of comparing with the result, we have to compare with the value. And also in previous one we initialize I to 0 and j to 1 because we assume that the first element will always be in my answer, and from the next j equal to 1 we were looking for duplicates. For in this scenario, because first value itself can be a element that we have to remove, so we'll initialize the result with -1 and iterator j with 0, and we'll keep on going, and whenever we have to put the result, we have to increment I plus plus, and everything else will remain same. Let me run it. And let's submit it. Yes, it is working as expected. So here we only changed these two lines, the value which were initialized for I and j, and the comparing with val. Let's look at the last problem that we are going to solve, which is move zeros. So in this problem we have to move all the non-zeros element to the front, or in other words all the zeros to the end of the array. So it's again similar to the first one. Let me copy it, and because we have to move all the non-zeros to the front, we are not aware about the result, so we'll initialize with -1, j with 0, and if it is non-zero, we are moving to the front, we don't have to return anything. Also, after moving all the non-zeros to the front, we have to fill the remaining part of the array with 0. So I is pointing to the non-zero element, we'll increment it, and while I is less than nums dot length, we'll fill it with 0, and that's it. Let me run it. It's working for the test case. Let me submit. Yeah, it's working, and we are able to solve it. So let me tell you, you have already solved four problems which were pretty much similar and were asked in companies like Amazon, Uber, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. And I think you are doing great. And if you have any questions, please do mention in comments. I'll try to answer it. So we are towards the closure of the video. I'll try to cover more concepts and problems in the next videos. So this being my first video, hope you like the content. Please do comment and provide your valuable feedbacks and I'll surely try to improve it. Thank you.